Welcome, everybody. Those of you here for the first time, extra special welcome. All right, round of applause. All right, so thank you, everyone, for the introductions. Those are really, really important so that, you know, that person that's been avoiding you, that you only know from the Zoom or the phone, you can say, hey, I've been trying to reach him or her, and, you know, then you got them. All right. So I'm going to jump right into the meeting today. We have something we call our summer initiatives. We have a partnership with the Champaign County Mental Health Board, the Don Moore Boys and Girls Club, and the Community Coalition. This summer we have about 15 community partners that are doing activities with young folks from arts, from educational, from leadership, and we have some individuals doing great work with young folks. What I love about this partnership and what the Mental Health Board affords us the ability to do is, it's great that we've got Jeff from the Y here and everybody supports him, and the Boys and Girls Club, but we've got some great individual, small grassroots organizations doing phenomenal work. And so I wanted to just highlight two of the initiatives that we have happening this summer. We'll do more of these over the next couple of months so you can kind of see the impact and the activities that are taking place for young folks and their families across the community. So I think many of you may have heard about First String. The McFarland family initiated this work and been working with families, kids and families for over 20 years. And they use baseball, and then now they've added basketball in the winter months to engage young people, support, teach about the game, teamwork, phenomenal work. So our partnership this summer enabled us to take almost 100 people associated with First String up to a Chicago White Sox game. So we've got some photos here. You can see the group of them at the stadium, kids around, photographs. For most of these young folks, it's their first time out of the community. Take a bus and go up to the game. So I just wanted to share that with you and acknowledge First String and the great work that they're doing up there as well. And so can we just give a round of applause to the Mental Health Board and those folks associated with First String. Next one, MC, please. All right, so, you know, most of my days are tough and dealing with, you know, meetings and, you know, all this stuff. So up in Rantoul, this is the second year we did a summer youth initiative. We looked at employment, we looked at community service, we looked at community cleanup projects, and just great work that Regina Kreider and a number of other folks, they've got this phenomenal sports facility up in Rantoul. If you have not had a chance to go up and see this space, it's phenomenal. And they're doing everything from volleyball to soccer. Yesterday, they were having tryouts for those interested in higher level baseball. So there were professional scouts out there as the kids were doing baseball drills. And we had our 30 plus young folks there getting their checks, right? And so getting a chance to just talk with the students, talk with them about the impact of the anywhere from $200 to $500 they could have earned this summer, and the money, and talking with the parents about the experience. And so I just wanted to show and highlight these two initiatives that Community Coalition, our community together, has been able to do, making a difference for a number of young folks up in the Rantoul area. So let's give a round of applause to Summer Youth Works in Rantoul, and Regina Kreider and the city of Rantoul and the sports facility and all of that happening up there, right? So that's our good news starting the day off, and yeah. All right, so moving along on the agenda, We're going to bring Mr. Mark Pelmore up. So you may or may not be aware, we've got an area in Champaign in the Garden Hills area that we're doing great work with. It started out as a concept and an idea and really has evolved phenomenally to do some work in a neighborhood. And I'll talk a little bit more about the Hedge Pop Park here in a moment. Mark's here, our partner from Business Elevator, and he's going to talk to you about Market on Hedge.
Good afternoon. As he said, I'm Mark Pelmore. I'm the co-founder of Business Elevator, which is a 501c3 here in Champaign. And our mission is to connect small businesses or micro businesses to support and resources, whether that be capital, tech support, whatever. So when the city came up with the Hedge Pop Park, we were part of the team that actually helped build it. And now what we're doing is we're creating business pop-ups so smaller or micro businesses can get awareness, and then we help them grow capacity with training. The next pop-up park that is happening is August the 20th from 1 to 4 p.m. There'll be vendors, there'll be food, and we're working on Dr. Patterson to have the hip-hop bus out there as well. So anybody that knows a smaller or micro business, please get them in touch with me. I'll give everybody my email address here in a second. But we're looking to bring awareness to smaller businesses and then also give them an opportunity to be trained and or get resources. We plan to do this 2 more times after the August one, so there'll be one probably the second Saturday in September, and then again the second Saturday in October. We already had one event July 13th. We had people come from Chicago, Springfield, and some of the surrounding areas in Champaign County. So we had a good turnout, and we're actually looking to make this a little bigger, a little better, with some of the support from some of the organizations that you guys represent. We are Champaign County. We work with the city of Champaign. We are working on a partnership with the city of Urbana, so we hope to do a couple in Urbana before the summer's out. Does anybody have any questions about what we're doing and how things are moving along? Man, y'all are, yes, ma'am. So the definition for small business is any organization. Okay, the question was, can I identify or give a definition for small business? And according to the state of Illinois, a small business is any organization that has 50 or lower employees. So when we say micro business, we're talking about organizations that have under 10 employees. Sometimes it's a solo operation.
Mark, you gave a beautiful definition, but I didn't express myself well. Could you give us an example of what are 1 or 2 of the micro businesses that popped up?
Okay, so we have an organization called A Cut Above the Rest, which is Carlos Harvey. He is a barbershop owner, but now he's starting an actual barber college. So part of his operation, he's a one-person operation. So now that he's jumping from an actual business owner to an actual organization that trains people, he is considered a micro organization because it's just one of him. So he's going to have to hire some other instructors, some other barbers, some other stylists in order to make his school work. Does that help you with the definition? Yes, ma'am.
Do you help small businesses with business plans and with writing grants?
At this point, we do have a training course that we call Entrepreneur Coaching Academy. It is a 6 to 8 week kind of introductory training where we actually go over the business plan. But right now, we do not help people write grants. We kind of refer that out. But in the next maybe 6 months or so, we're actually going through a grant writing training. So in the next year, we will be able to do that as well. Any other questions?
All right, let's give Mark a round of applause. So part of this work, and aligned with Barbara's question, is looking at this idea of how do we expand, build, help in building capacity, support, infrastructure for small minority women-owned businesses. And so we've had one meeting. We brought the Department of DCEO, Community and Economic Opportunity, I think DCEO stands for. We had a great meeting. We brought in the Chamber of Commerce. We brought in the Economic Development Corporation. We brought in organizations like Marx. There's a number of organizations doing this work throughout the community. We want to get everybody working together. Bob was there representing the University of Illinois that day. So we want to build a connection piece so that if it's help with a business plan, we've got an organization that does that. If there's help with how do we identify capital to help businesses grow, we want to have all of these support systems and mechanisms in place to help build minority women owned businesses and make that a very intentional part of our work going forward through the city and through the coalition. So great questions. Thank you, Mark, for the work. So I think we all have heard about our Victory Over Violence work we've been doing in partnership with WCIA. This has gone to a whole nother level of support in our quest as a community to squash and eliminate our community gun violence crisis. You may recall at last month's meeting, we talked a little bit about this work. I guess just to talk about the power of what we've been doing. So for the last year, again, initiated through WCIA, was this notion to have victory over violence as a community and bringing us all together. And so we've had town hall meetings, we've had a community prayer event and activities taking place, and then we've had a lot of intentional work that we've funded and supported, again, to address and work towards eliminating gun violence in our community. And so we've been running commercials, if you watch WCIA at all, and you'll see commercials sponsored by Company X in support of Victory Over Violence. We've got a number of organizations and projects that were funded. The first round, we did a fundraiser, and Mark also in one of the projects that he does, he's doing a phenomenal chess program, teaching young people about chess, the theory, the mindset behind chess, and figuring that all out. And then we have a number of other community-based projects that were funded. So I understand the way the story went is the chancellor had a chance to see one of the commercials and became very interested in Victory Over Violence, and he went out and raised close to $300,000 to support this work. So, yeah, thank you, Chancellor. So a month ago, as Mark talked about, out at Hedge Park, we had a big event, and once the rain cleared out, we were able to have Busey, U of I, Carl Christie, OSF, and United Way all give $50,000 to make up to $300,000. So we've started our next round of funding opportunities for community-based projects. So I think this is all going through United Way. So Bev is out of town and I couldn't get Sue here, but United Way is the place to go about the applications for funding opportunities. Please pass the word on this. And yeah, we want to get these funds out. This is ongoing. I talked with Andy Miller from WCIA, and this is going to be ongoing work for the television station. How do we promote and support those organizations making a difference? How do we keep out in front of our community that we're going to have victory over violence and we're going to eliminate this from our community? And so wanted to make sure you were all aware and pass this on and throughout your networks about victory over violence. All right, so Karen always talks to me about, our ability as a community to be fully trauma informed. And so we're going to bring Karen Sims up to talk about the continuation of the great work she's doing as it relates to trauma and being more trauma informed.
I can do that. So I'm going to see if it goes. So I just want to say this is a part of the Blueprints Initiative, so this gives us a chance. And for people who are like, oh, Karen's going to talk about trauma, this isn't. I'm actually going to talk about other people's training. So as a part of our Blueprints Initiative, we're committed to expanding the availability of trauma-informed and trauma-specific services and supports. Because it's enough, right? Like a lot of times people are like refer somebody to therapy. But what the science and evidence says is that trauma-specific interventions are a little bit different. They actually have different components. They work differently. And so we are starting this month, actually starting this Saturday, rolling out a series of evidence-based, operative word evidence-based, because a lot of people will say they do trauma, but it's not like evidence-based. And so we're rolling out a series of evidence-based trauma-specific treatments and services and interventions. So the first thing that we're rolling out, and we still have a few more spaces, so if you know of somebody who is with a youth program, and the program that we're starting off with is called Start to Heal, and Start to Heal is from Youth Alive. So if people are familiar with violence interruption work, Youth Alive is the gold standard of community-based violence interruption, and they created a model because they realized that one of the things that was interrupting youth and young adults' ability to sort of be resilient was not having wellness, coping, and affect regulation skills, right? Like how do I, when I feel distressed, when I feel worried, how do I calm down? How do I know how to do that? Well, it takes a wellness approach because I could teach you the skills, but if you're not sleeping well, eating well, all of those other things. And so Start to Heal helps people who are working with youth support them in creating an individualized model that they can use anywhere, even on their app on a phone, and they can have their own individualized personal wellness plans that people in their lives can talk to them about, coach them on, and that, again, this has sort of been proven that if they have all of these elements, they're less likely to have problems with impulsivity and control and all of those things. So we're launching Start. That's the first of the things. There are a couple other things that are not up here, but I want to mention just a few more. So we will also be bringing in a suicide screening and assessment training. I call CAMS. Again, CAMS is one of the few evidence-based approaches to help assess for suicide. People don't often understand that there's a correlation between suicide and homicide. And so we want to make sure that people who are working with youth and young adults have great skills. You don't see the flyer up here for something called Seeking Safety. Seeking Safety is a substance abuse intervention program. And the reason why we did that, yesterday we were having a community meeting, but one of the things that happened at a couple of our community meetings is we had people from the community, particularly moms from our community, who said, if we're not dealing with addictions, we're probably not getting to the root of support for families. So we're bringing in a substance abuse model that is trauma-informed, can be worked on individually and personally. I was actually talking to a provider from Carl this morning who said it was the best training that he's ever attended. And so, because he thought it was just so transformational and changed how he practices and understood addiction. So if we have a lot of people who, and again, everybody who comes to training, we're asking to make commitments to serve and support individuals impacted by community violence. So this will be a part of our collaborative. We'll also be bringing in, we also have this minority, and this is a longer conversation, a minority mental health network. So a number of the people who are being trained are people of color or who have demonstrated a strong sense of cultural competency or cultural responsiveness. The last flyer up here is Strong Families. We've had many, many family therapy models. People always love them. And what I have loved about Strong Families for many, many years is it's culturally responsive, like meaning it was designed for Black and brown families, really is designed for Black and brown families who are working with youth, young adults, and adolescents, because a lot of family therapy models are like aimed at kids, like younger kids, so this is like at the right wheelhouse. It's grounded in culture, it connects people to things, it fosters a sense of belonging and community. And if people come to one meeting, they'll get something. If they come to the whole thing, they'll get something. So we decided that everything that we brought in would be meaningful and impactful if you got a little bit or the whole. Last thing to say is eventually, thanks to Blueprints, we'll be offering many of these supports in our office, which will be downtown Champaign. So there will be like a full calendar of groups, workshops, opportunities for people to come in for both training, for their own sort of healing and wellness and recovery. So be looking for a full opportunity. So looking forward to sort of rolling these out. We'll have flyers someplace for people who are looking for more information. If you happen to, again, know of an organization that's serving and supporting youth of color, we'd love to have them at Start to Heal. Remember, you don't have to be like our program. This is for you to use with your youth if they're connected to our network. So thank you.
So, Karen, talk to us about why this is important.
Yeah, so why it is important. Again, we can have a lot of services, but if you don't have the right kind of service and support, it doesn't necessarily get to the right answer. Also, what we have heard, because again, we've been having conversations for a long time, is we've got to meet people where they are. So not everybody is ready for the most intensive sort of treatment. Some people really just need to start their recovery journey focusing on resiliency, focusing on like feeling better, right? So if you're there, we have options for you. And then some people, the biggest needs for them are family issues. So we want to sort of address that. So if we're noticing that your conflict with your family is your biggest issue, we can customize that. So we're trying to make sure, again, when we think about an array, like meeting people where they are, making sure everything that we're bringing in has been vetted. Research says it's work with the people that we're serving and supporting, so it's not sort of random great ideas. It's really like evidence-based. And for trauma-specific interventions, and I know I should wrap up, but what the data says is that 1 in 6 youth in communities who've been impacted by gun violence meet criteria for having complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So they meet criteria for having complex PTSD. If you don't treat PTSD, it doesn't just automatically get better. And many of the interventions that we typically do actually cause harm. So really take that in. Many of the ways that we provide support and care and healing aren't based on research, and so actually create harm and actually creates more of the problems that we need to solve. So we know that evidence-based trauma-specific treatments have some components, and so we're committed to making sure that people get the right kind of care, right? So we don't want you to treat your diabetes with high blood pressure medicine, right? We want you to get what you need in the way that it needs, in the locations that you need it. So wherever you go, wherever you show up in the service arena, we want people who are skilled to support you. So that's a great question.
All right, last one. So we've all come out of, an unbelievable 2.5 to 3 year period. We all, those of us doing the work, are also suffering from significant trauma from what we've all gone through. What are we talking about? What are we looking at for those of us in the room that don't want to acknowledge, but it's in us? What are we thinking? What are we?
Yeah. So we're thinking two things. One, and we did this in the beginning of the pandemic, but I'm going to start off with why we're starting off with Start to Heal is because there's a core part of Start to Heal that is around healing providers. Because it says, I can't offer to somebody something that I wouldn't be willing to do for me. So when you're thinking about those critical wellness plans, you're encouraged to have your own to do that. The other thing, and this came out of the other hat that I wear, the AVC group, but people who are doing this work have talked about how they have been re-traumatized and how they're bleeding. And so we offered a group called GRIT, Growing Resilience in Tough Times, and we will be restarting GRIT, and we'll have it both in person and online available because people have requested it, and we've offered it for providers before. And then I can imagine, I'm looking at Pat, but when we stopped our trauma working group, one of the last sort of fantasies, Pat and Amy, was to hold some wellness events for providers, and I know we've gone back to reflect on that because we realize just what's being asked, and also we want to increase capacity. So, because it's been a difficult, as you said, few years.
Let's give Karen a round of applause. Thank you. I put her on the spot on purpose, right? And sometimes it's how we get messages out, right? So we all know and hear about self-care. And I would ask all of us to take a moment to think about that for ourselves coming out of what we've all gone through. And so I don't want us to minimize the importance of this issue and topic. And so Karen's done phenomenal work through her organization, through the coalition, to raise this topic and subject around the trauma that we've all gone through. So that's my soapbox thing for the day. I'm going to bring our law enforcement leadership up, and for those of you that are here for the first time, a very important part of our community coalition is our work that we're doing with law enforcement. And we're going to ask you guys to come over on this side so Brian doesn't get on me about the reflection coming off of the screen. So thank you, law enforcement.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, Tom Petrilli with the City of Champaign Police Department. Just want to cover a few things. Hopefully I won't go too long. What have we been doing in the past 30 days? What's a snapshot? In July, we responded to about 4,200 calls for service, and that would have been calls where a police officer went out and responded to the scene. We also would have investigated and made an arrest in the 4th homicide that we had investigated so far of the year. There has since been a 5th in August. We've also ran some assigned overtime details to address some community concerns in the downtown area, and I'll go into that a little bit further. We've seized 17 guns, and to put that in perspective a little bit, there's been 13 shootings, 8 people shot, and 2 fatalities so far this year. And just in the month of July, we seized the 17 guns. We've responded to 28 calls regarding drugs, controlled substances. As we were just talking about the addiction problems in the community, it's ever present in our work. We've also continued our recruiting efforts. In July, we were hiring our next class of 5 officers who will start the police academy in September. I'll be attending a graduation for 4 officers tomorrow who are graduating PTI. So to put that in context a little, Champaign has been short-staffed. We've done a ton of hiring but our training process is long. So after we get them through approximately their 6 months of training, hopefully by the fall, we're reporting out that we have more solo patrol officers working on the street. Some other things we've been doing is stepping up our traffic enforcement. You may hear it referred to as STEP. It's a Selective Traffic Enforcement Program. When we announced the return of that, it's been a while due to COVID. So just as a reminder, that's really to promote traffic safety and address the community concerns such as speeding and other moving violations that I can assure you we get those complaints multiple times a day. That program addresses this. So officers will be specifically assigned to monitor areas for ongoing traffic concerns, and they'll be asked to directly intervene when unsafe behavior is identified. In the last month, we made 315 traffic stops and issued 283 citations for speeding and other moving violations. So although the complaints are numerous, we can't address all the areas. That's some of the work that's been done over the past month. As far as downtown Champaign, as some of you may be aware if you've seen videos circulating on social media, there's an increase in large, sometimes unruly gatherings, groups of people that are engaged in illegal activity, primarily during the late night hours. These groups often gather in downtown Champaign and then move to other areas of the community throughout the night. Some of these illegal activities observed include public consumption of alcohol, cannabis, pedestrians walking in the roadway or blocking traffic, reckless driving with vehicles, loud music, disorderly conduct, active fighting. So a large kind of grouping of issues that we tend to experience when we're dealing with these crowds. So to address the illegal behavior, the city of Champaign wanted to implement some new safety measures, put a few things in place, and that included reallocating some of the Champaign police officers on shift within the community and have more of a presence downtown with those officers just to maintain our presence, maintain peace, and take appropriate law enforcement actions. The assignment of actual overtime details, officers that aren't working the street but are dedicated to work specifically downtown. We've also implemented that, both uniformed and plainclothes officers. We've increased the presence as well by partnering with other agencies, including the Illinois State Police and local law enforcement. We've increased enforcement of the traffic violations downtown, including speeding, driving under the influence, excessive noise, and other infractions from the motor vehicle code. We decided to reroute some of the inbound motor vehicle traffic around the downtown area, and that's starting on 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday nights. So that's typically when we're experiencing the problems, has been on our weekend nights. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're probably not out at Friday or Saturday past 10, and that's okay too. We've also deployed some crowd control resources downtown, including like crowd racking, just to have some control of vehicular and pedestrian traffic and how they navigate or flow through the downtown area. City officials have also went out and contacted owners of private downtown parking lots and request they secure and monitor their properties. We've communicated with other downtown businesses, and we also increased the use of our mobile lighting and surveillance equipment to monitor and serve as evidentiary purpose in case there was a crime committed downtown. So that kind of touches on some of the things we're doing for downtown. I myself worked last week. I thought it was quite enjoyable downtown, and that's the goal, to return to that type of environment. One of the other things I'll mention before I step to the side here is I just want to remind folks about our voluntary camera registration. You may or may not have heard of it, but the Champaign Police Department does have a program where residents with exterior video cameras can register online at champaign.il.gov/mycamera. When you sign up, you simply tell us where you live and what your camera views. You don't give us any type of access to the camera. If you choose to submit it later, you can. If an incident occurs nearby, we will reach out to people that have registered cameras in that location, and we will ask if you have video that you would like to submit. If you do, then you submit it to us. It should be quick and easy. So the camera registration program, if you didn't hear about it. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Of the 4,200 calls, could you, and I'm saying this to the rest of you, could you talk a little bit about those times or any numbers you have when social workers or de-escalation helpers or writers to help with those kinds of events were called to go with you?
So the question is, if I understood you correctly, the question is how often do we have someone that has a background in behavioral health ride along or respond with us as a co-responder? The Champaign Police Department, I'll answer directly out of the 4,200, I'm not sure. There will be a percentage, definitely, of mental health related calls. Yes, I just don't know off the top of my head. So we do have records of it. It's something we could produce, but more broadly, I guess I would say the Champaign Police Department is interested. We understand the value in having people in the behavioral health field respond to people's needs, because they can respond oftentimes better equipped than a police officer. We are interested in pursuing that initiative, and that's something we are scheduled to go forward on next month in front of council to execute an agreement between Rosecrans and the city of Champaign. So we're hoping to make some progress on that, but I'm guessing if the other agencies answer, I can say that they're ahead of Champaign on this one. I believe they've already implemented that, and some of the other agencies do have behavioral health clinicians or their equivalent that will respond and provide those resources. So that's one of them improvements that we're steadily working towards. Yep.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Matt Bain. I am the interim deputy chief for the city of Urbana. I have some fairly good news, I guess. In July, Urbana responded to just 5 confirmed incidents of shootings. Only in one of those was someone injured. And last Tuesday, an arrest was made with that case. And I was told to give an appreciation to the county sheriff's office who utilized their LPR system in locating the vehicle and effecting the arrest. So thank you. We have had one, so up to date, we've had one confirmed shooting in August, which brings Urbana's total for the year to 31. We too in Urbana have been having somewhat of an issue with the late night parties downtown, not to the extent that Champaign has, but we are trying to combat that with just extra patrols and extra presence in the downtown area, specifically around the Urbana parking deck. Seems to be a popular place to gather and same thing, drinking, smoking, fights, things of that nature. The last thing I wanted to say was our Metro team, the multi-jurisdictional SWAT team, was recently awarded a grant through ILEAS for a negotiator phone, which was a very big need of our team. So that is going to be implemented within the next couple of months. So that was a big thing for us. We're still looking to hire. We've got potentially one going to the academy in September, and we've got 2 that are just about to get out on their own from the training program. I don't have our co-responder mental health numbers either, but they are still actively working at the Urbana Police Department and responding with Paige Bennett, who I think spoke last month to you guys. So, any questions? Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, everybody. Dustin Harmon, Champaign County Sheriff. So patrol-wise, we're doing great. We're sending 2 to the academy starting in September, 1 graduating tomorrow, and that will make us have 1 opening, which is great overall. Now, corrections, on the other hand, we're really still struggling in corrections. We're down by about 18 correctional officers. And so if you know anybody who's 21 or over who might be interested in a corrections field, or somebody who just has not had luck testing for law enforcement or getting picked up with law enforcement who maybe wants to start in a corrections field, I would encourage you to have them reach out to us at the sheriff's office. It's really hard to focus on diversity of employees when we don't even have any employees who are applying. And so we're really trying to boost that. We've got a real big safety hazard at the jail when we don't have enough staff. It poses problems for both inmates and correctional officers, and that's a situation we don't want to be in. And so please, anybody who's interested, please make sure you reach out to us so we can get them more information. Last month, I talked about our back-to-school barbecue we were going to have this last Saturday. I'm happy to report it was a phenomenal success. We gave out about 200 book bags in about the first 30 minutes of the event occurring. About 250 free hot dogs. We had a helicopter land, which if anybody saw me on WCIA over the weekend, I was really excited about the helicopter landing. It never gets old, no matter how many times you see it land and take off. And overall, I would estimate we had about 300 people there. And so that was really good, especially considering that the second you stepped out of your car, you were dripping in sweat from all the humidity. And so it was just a great time, and we've obviously learned some things. We need more supplies and things for next year, and so but for inaugural event, that was very, very much a success. So thanks to all of you who maybe contributed. The community outreach and the community support with supplies was overwhelming, and so thank you very much if you did so. Lastly, talking about shots fired incidents, so far this year, we have had 5 shots fired incidents, all of which have been property damage only. We have not had any injuries reported with those. We have had 1 since we last talked. And so over the last month, we had 1. That was in Urbana Township. So just a comparable, in 2021 at this time, we had 14. And so this year at this time we've had 5, which is about a 64% decrease. I didn't have to make that percentage up this month like I did last month to compare with the other chiefs. It was about a 64% decrease. And so 2020 at this time we'd had 12. At 2019 at this time we'd had 10. And so we are very much so trending well. Even with 5, trending well throughout the year. So I'm hoping that trend continues. And as always, if you need anything, always reach out. Questions? Oh, social worker?
That, but also, is the satellite jail still full? Are we still dispersing folks into other county jails in the area?
Yes, ma'am. I have about 150 inmates who are out of county right now, and the satellite jail is packed full. Unfortunately, one of the side effects of arrests and things like that for violent crime is they've got to be somewhere until they're adjudicated. And so that's something we're working on. The state's attorney's office has been really good with assessing, low-level cases that maybe don't need to be in jail, and making sure that they're not sitting in jail until their trial. But we are full right now. We are packed. As far as a social worker goes, we currently do not have a social worker. Rose Krantz currently took over the contract for our social worker from RPC. And when that occurred, our current social worker was not transferred over to Rosecrans in that position. And so they are currently looking for a new social worker to be stationed at the sheriff's office, and we're very much excited about what that new position may be. And of course, we've been talking about social workers. We all use them differently in all our departments, and we're looking forward to how that evolution is going to shape up here over the next several months. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. As you know, an influx of about 56,000 students will be upon us next week. So that's what we're doing at the U of I, is preparing for that. Tuesday is really the kickoff of move-in. Officially, the 20th is the big weekend that everyone's going to be dropping their kids off, and you'll see lots of tears and lots of pets for the dog. But that's a big deal for us. I mean, and it's a big deal for our community to see all the influx of these students. So preparing for that, obviously with that, mental health issues are going to be rising because of the new students here, and they're away from home. So we're preparing our team to be available and out in the street. Also, our substation down at 505 East Green. So that's an additional space where our outreach team and actually our reach team is going to be located, in addition to our security, our student patrol. So they're going to have access. Individuals on Campus Town on Green Street will have access to services there. In addition to that, we have hired our first community service officers, so that's going to be an additional support for our campus community. So they are hopeful we'll get them hired by the end of this week and get them trained and ready to go this fall. I think I mentioned this last time, but we're creating a juvenile engagement officer position, a coordinator position. We have a police athletic PAL grant, is what they call it. It's a mentorship program for middle-aged students and kids. So we're partnering with Urbana Middle School, and we're going to be into this school and providing some mentorship there. So that position is going to help coordinate that and help liaison with the different juvenile justice systems across the community. But other than that, we have a few candidates going into the academy, 3 actually. 2 from the sheriff's office will be joining us into the academy, but we are full currently, and so that's a good sign. So we're looking forward to getting those folks out of the academy and trained so we can help, with our campus town detail. So, any questions? Great, that's easy.
Troy Daniels from Parkland College. I'm happy to report that we're only 1 officer down. Recently, one of our officers went to the University of Illinois, and we have borrowed an Urbana officer permanently. So we're just one big happy family up here, stealing from each other and giving to each other. That's what we do. Next week, before classes, all of our officers at Parkland are going to be going through active shooter training. We're going to be practicing our tactics to make sure that we're prepared for the first day of school. Beginning in September, we're going to meet with all the administrators and on our crisis management team and begin to discuss our active shooter protocol to make sure that the entire campus is ready in case an event like that, which very, very remote, but just in case. All the agencies up here work together very closely whenever there's a major event. Certainly if there was a major event in any of our jurisdictions, we would be flowing into that jurisdiction to help them. Last month, the City of Champaign sponsored training at Centennial High School called Rescue Task Force Training, which incorporates officers from all different kinds of jurisdictions throughout the area, as well as fire personnel and ambulance personnel to help rescue people, train how to rescue people while one of these events are going on. So just to let everyone know, we take it very seriously. We work together very closely. And we have some additional training we'll talk about next month as far as this topic. On the social worker program part of it, question, we're lucky at Parkland to have on-duty counselors in our building while we're on duty, when most of the students come to class. So whenever there's an incident with a student that's in crisis, we can immediately usually grab a counselor and have them take part. But one thing I'm very proud of, and I was very happy to see when I came over to Parkland, is that they have a team of administrators, counselors, and police officers that meet once a month. And when there's a student in crisis with any kind of issues, performance issues, or issues that they're struggling, we want to make sure we get together and find out if there's any services that we can deliver. And we track that student on a monthly basis to make sure that they're doing okay and if there's anything else that we can do for them. So it's something that we work together on, collaborate together on. So thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Many of us have been horrified by what happened in Uvalde, and especially when there was all the talk about the lack of coordination among the different law enforcement groups. And God forbid anything should happen here, but how do you coordinate that?
So that's one of the reasons why we train together, and we have tabletop training, and we'll talk about that more next month, where we get administrators and people who are operational from all the agencies, and we work together and we train on that so that we know what to do. Without commenting on that agency or what happened, all I can say is I can guarantee you that if anything like that happened in our county, that you would see a very coordinated response. We train it and we know what to do. So that would not happen here.
Let's give our team of folks a good round of applause. I want to bring my good friend Sally Carter up to talk about Victory Fest. Sally's been doing phenomenal work in our community for years. I don't mean to say that like she's old or anything, but so Sally's coming up and going to talk to us about Victory Fest.
Thank you all so much for having me. This is actually one of my first meetings in a very long time. This is awesome. Well, okay, I will not be before you long. I am Sally Carter. I am the owner of a new agency called 1 Square 4 Sides, and the purpose of 1 Square 4 Sides is to support platforms for the community to come together, to engage, and to celebrate our successes and wins. And a huge program of 1 Square 4 Sides is Victory Fest. I started this last year. It's a celebratory conference, an opportunity again to come together and celebrate. Like you've talked about, Tracy, the past 3 years have been crazy for everyone globally. But then what we're fighting here within our own community with gun violence, disparities across the board. Karen, you talked about mental health issues. We've all been affected one way or another. None of us are exempt. So with Victory Fest, it's an opportunity to come together and say, like we've been doing on these monthly meetings, this is what we've been doing together. Let's celebrate while we continue to provide resources for the community. So I'm excited. A huge component that we're offering this year is our All-Teen Access and Opportunity Fair. I know the writing is really small, but what that is an opportunity for us to have a space for young people ages 13 to 21 to come together to find out opportunities for employment, for job trainings, volunteer opportunities, internships, paid and non-paid, all in one space. It's also an opportunity to provide workshops for this population, so we are looking for sponsors and partners. We're looking for vendors as well. I'm a firm believing in investing in our youth. I'm known for youth programs like Champaign Leadership Academy and the Royal Academy. But with this, now that my own children are older, I'm working with a different population. And it's the same population that we're talking about and we're concerned about with violence in our community. I'm proud to work with Dreams, who isn't here, but they have a summer work program. And so my media specialist, my social media specialist, I've been searching high and low to employ someone to help me manage all the work that I do in this 21st century. It's not me. I don't want to learn TikTok and Instagram, and I'm great on Facebook. I'm finally hello, can I get it? That's right, I'm finally mastering Facebook. And now I'm learning that TikTok is the way to go. I can't do it all, nor do I want to. And if I continue to wait until I find qualified staff for when they're 21 and up, I won't have a business. And so I'm proud that my social media specialist is here doing a phenomenal job. She's 16. And so she's over there saying, period. So this is a part of the work that we're all doing, right? So we're taking our young people and we're showing them and we're guiding them and they're with us and they're making mistakes with us because I'm 30 plus in the game still learning and making mistakes. So we get to be a model and not just a role model, but really to invest in our young people and show them and guide them along the way. So this is a part of Victory Fest and what we're looking for support, again, sponsorships, service providers, vendors. Yes, we want young people because we have young people who are entrepreneurs, and so we want to create a space for them to be vendors, to share their gifts and their talents and make coins from the community at the same time, right? How do we create a better community is we invest in the community while they are young, to teach them how to be entrepreneurs, to teach them how to put economy back into their community. And so I'm looking for your support in that initiative. I don't know if the other slide was able to get in. Oh, awesome. Perfect, April. But a part of that also is our Crowning Conquerors. So what we do during Crowning Conquerors is we select 8 local heroes who have experienced hardships within the year, but yet they continue to thrive and continue to spread joy through laughter and love for other people. I don't have a picture of the first recipient for this year, but it's Brandy Anderson. A lot of you may know Brandy. Some of you know Brandy Anderson. You know that she has been, yes, Brandy Anderson, thank you. She has been, I want to say struggle, but it doesn't fit her description, her personality. She has been suffering with her son, who is less than 1 year old. For the past 6 months, TJ has been in and out of hospitals. He's already had multiple surgeries. He's not even 2 years old. Why? Because something that is common that affects us within our communities, asthma. He has severe asthma. Struggling with asthma, not even 1 year old. He's had COVID. So not only with the severe asthma, he now has obstructive sleep apnea. It's been so difficult that Carl said we don't know what to do. He went to hospitals in Peoria, Springfield, Chicago. And so now he's such a modern day miracle. He's been accepted at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. The problem is, while that is a miracle and it's a blessing that they've accepted him, insurance is not covering. So Brandy, who is an employee of Texas Roadhouse but has not been able to work for 1 full year because she's been taking care of her sick child, they are hosting a fundraiser tonight. It ends at 10 p.m., but it does not end there. I'm asking you to please keep this family in your heart. You can still donate to them. If you go to the Facebook page, and I can give more information, you can donate, see how to be a part. Victory Fest is a way you can be a part. We are honoring 8 community conquerors. Brandy is just the first that we're announcing. These families don't ask for anything. They continue to go. And oftentimes people are pride. They feel like, everyone's going through things. I don't want to ask for help. But that's what community is about. So they are not asking. I'm asking on their behalf. And their family won't have to struggle on their own. As a community, I'm asking that we come together. And again, not just Brandy, but this year we're honoring 8 in all. And we're looking for your nominations. Information is not up here, I'm sorry. You can contact me at victoryfestnow@gmail.com. I'm on social media, Sally K. Carter. I am available. Thank you so much for your time, Tracy. I appreciate you all.
All right, so let's give Sally a round of applause again. Once again, just thank you, everybody. Peace and love to you, and we'll see you next month.